Welcome back to Talk Tensors, a show where we really get into the nitty-gritty of machine learning papers.
That's right.
And today we're doing a deep dive on a paper called IP-FaceDiff, Identity-Preserving Facial Video Editing with Diffusion.
Now, I got to say, this one piqued our interest.
Yeah.
Because, well, face swap videos, right? They're everywhere these days.
It's very popular, yeah.
But beyond the fun and games, there's a real technical challenge here, and this paper's tackling it head on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's all about making very precise changes to faces in videos, like adding, a beard or changing a hairstyle or even adjusting expressions.
Yeah.
But the key is doing it without making the person look like a completely different person.
Right. We want those edits to be believable.
Right.
Not like those deep fakes we see sometimes that just,
Exactly. It can be
a little off.
a little unsettling.
Yeah, a little unsettling.
Yeah. So how does IP-FaceDiff actually achieve this? The title mentions diffusion models, which I know have been making waves in the image generation world.
They're very powerful, yeah. Diffusion models essentially learn to generate images by reversing a process of adding noise. So it's kind of like starting with a blurry, noisy image and then gradually sharpening it until you have this clear, realistic picture. And the really cool part is that you can guide this sharpening process with text prompts. So you have a lot of control over what the final image looks like.
Okay, so they're using these powerful diffusion models as a foundation. But how do they apply that to video? And how do they ensure that the edits are precise and don't mess up the person's fundamental identity?
Right. That's where the real ingenuity comes in. So IP-FaceDiff takes these pre-trained diffusion models, which have already learned a ton about generating images in general, and then they fine-tune them specifically for facial video editing. So imagine you have a supercomputer that can generate any image you can describe.
Okay.
Now you want to make it an expert in creating photorealistic portraits.
Okay, I'm following you.
That's basically what fine-tuning does. It takes a general purpose model and makes it really good at a specific task.
So instead of starting from scratch, they're taking these powerful image generation models and giving them a crash course in faces and how they move, essentially.
Exactly. And to do this, they actually use two separate branches within the model.
Okay.
One branch is all about preserving the person's identity. It learns the unique features of their face and then uses something called a loss function to make sure that the edited face still matches the original.
Okay, so this loss function acts like a kind of watchdog almost.
Yeah, you could say that.
Making sure that the edits don't stray too far from the person's core.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like having a facial recognition system running in the background.
Yeah.
Constantly checking to make sure that the edited face still looks like the same person.
Makes sense. So what about the other branch? What's its role?
The second branch is all about making those specific edits you want.
Okay.
It also uses a loss function, but this one focuses on making sure that the edits align with the text prompts you give it. So if you say, add a mustache, this branch figures out how to do that realistically, while also taking cues from the identity-preserving branch to make sure that the mustache looks natural on that particular face.
Gotcha. So you've got these two branches working in tandem.
Exactly.
One safeguarding identity, the other carrying out those edits. It's a pretty ingenious way to kind of balance those competing goals.
It is.
Now, how do they apply this to video? Because we've been talking about images.
Right.
But video obviously has that temporal dimension.
Yeah, and that's where the concept of temporal consistency comes in. The model isn't just looking at individual frames in isolation. It's also looking at how faces change from frame to frame, learning to create smooth transitions and avoid those jarring jumps we see in some less sophisticated edits.
So it's almost like the model is learning the grammar of facial movement.
You could think of it that way.
It's not just slapping on edits randomly. It's understanding how faces actually move and change over time.
It's getting a deeper understanding of the dynamics of facial expressions.
This is pretty complex stuff. To really appreciate how we got to this point, I think it'd be helpful to take a step back and talk about the evolution of video editing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think understanding the history can really give us a better appreciation for what IP-FaceDiff is doing.
Okay, so way back in the day, video editing was a very manual process.
Oh, yeah, very much so. It was all about cutting and splicing film reels frame by frame.
Yeah, yeah.
Incredibly time-consuming.
Very specialized.
And you needed specialized skills and equipment.
Yeah, it was a whole different world. Then came the digital revolution, and that brought about software that made editing a bit more accessible. But it still involved a lot of manual adjustments and tweaking, right?
Oh, absolutely. You were still spending a lot of time fine-tuning things by hand.
Oh, and now here we are in the age of AI, where algorithms are stepping in to analyze and manipulate video in ways that, frankly, were unimaginable just a few years ago.
It's a whole different ballgame now. It's like we've gone from using scissors and glue to having a digital artist at our disposal.
Exactly. And IP-FaceDiff feels like a big leap forward in that evolution. It's showing us what AI can do, not just in terms of automating those tedious tasks, but actually achieving a level of realism and precision that in many ways surpasses what humans can do.
And it's doing it faster and more efficiently.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. It's really exciting to see where this technology is going.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what we're going to explore in our Novel Notions segment.
Ooh, I love this part.
We'll be looking at some potential extensions of this research, some ideas that might seem like science fiction today, but who knows, they could be reality sooner than we think.
All right. I am ready to get those creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
Let's dive into Novel Notions.
Let's do it.
So, we've talked about how this IP-FaceDiff works, you know, the nuts and bolts of it and where it fits into the grand scheme of video editing history. But now, for the fun part, Novel Notions.
Yeah.
What are some potential research avenues, you know, building on these ideas?
Well, I think one really intriguing direction would be to go beyond just static features, like adding a beard or changing hair color, and explore dynamic changes in facial expressions. What if we could use this technology to subtly adjust a person's emotions in a video?
Whoa. Hold on. So you're saying like we could dial up the intensity of a smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Add like a hint of skepticism to a raised eyebrow.
Exactly. Imagine being able to fine-tune those subtle emotional cues.
I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff. I could see how that could be incredibly useful for filmmakers, content creators, you know, anyone who's trying to tell a story.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. You could make a scene more impactful, more nuanced, just by tweaking those expressions.
Right.
And it could also be huge for things like dubbing foreign films.
Oh, interesting.
Or creating virtual characters that have more believable, more human-like emotional responses.
But of course we have to talk about the potential downsides here. What if this technology, you know, gets into the wrong hands?
Right.
I mean, could it be used to manipulate people's emotions or create like misleading content?
Yeah, those are definitely valid concerns. I mean, like any powerful technology, there's always the risk of misuse.
Yeah.
And it really underscores the importance of, you know, ethical considerations and responsible development. If we're going to explore this avenue, we need to be very careful. We need to think about the potential consequences and establish safeguards to prevent those harmful applications.
It's not just about what we can do, it's about what we should do.
Exactly.
All right, so that's one novel notion. Any other ideas bouncing around to that brilliant brain of yours?
Well, another fascinating possibility is to take what IP-FaceDiff is doing with the face and expand it to the entire body.
Whoa, okay. Explain that one to me.
So imagine being able to alter someone's posture, their physique, even their clothing style in a video, all while maintaining that realistic and consistent appearance.
I mean, that's a bold idea. I can see how it could be incredibly useful in fields like fashion, animation, virtual reality.
Yeah, the applications are endless.
Imagine, you know, being able to try on clothes virtually and see how they actually fit and move on your body, or create really lifelike avatars for gaming or virtual worlds. And I can even see applications in medicine. You know, like for physical therapy or something.
Definitely. More personalized, more immersive simulations.
But again, we have to be cautious here. I mean, the potential for misuse is even greater when we're talking about, you know, manipulating someone's entire body image.
Right.
How do we prevent this technology from being used to, you know, promote unrealistic beauty standards or create harmful representations?
That's a tough question. It's a really complex issue, and there's no easy answer. It's going to require a multifaceted approach, I think, ethical guidelines, technological safeguards, and really open and honest discussions about the potential impact of this technology.
Yeah. It's about, finding that balance between harnessing the power of AI for good, for creative purposes, while also mitigating the risks and ensuring that it's used responsibly. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the technical nitty-gritty of IP-FaceDiff to these far-reaching, almost philosophical implications of its potential applications. I think it's safe to say that this technology has the power to really revolutionize how we create and interact with video.
I agree. It's a game changer.
And as with any powerful tool, it's on us to shape its development to make sure it's used for good.
Absolutely. It's a responsibility we all share.
It's really been quite a journey, exploring this IP-FaceDiff and all the possibilities it opens up. I think the big takeaway here is that AI is fundamentally changing the game when it comes to video editing. We're moving away from those manual tweaks and adjustments and entering this era where algorithms can really understand and manipulate video in ways that are just incredibly nuanced.
Yeah. And I think that shift, it brings both exciting opportunities but also some pretty complex challenges. On the one hand, you have this potential to create video experiences that are more realistic, more engaging, even more personalized. But on the other hand, we have to be really mindful of the potential for misuse. We need to make sure we're developing and using these technologies responsibly.
It's a good reminder that as researchers, as developers, we have a responsibility that goes beyond just pushing the technical boundaries.
Yeah.
We have to think about the impact our work has on society. We have to be actively involved in those conversations about ethical implications and the safeguards that need to be put in place.
It can't just be on the shoulders of researchers, though. It has to be a broader conversation. Policymakers need to be involved, content creators, the public at large. We all need to work together to shape the future of AI in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there, I encourage you to keep digging into this stuff, explore the research, engage in those conversations, and be a part of shaping this future of AI-powered video editing. Who knows, maybe one of you will be the next innovator to really push the boundaries even further.
The future isn't set in stone. It's something we create through our choices and our actions and our willingness to have these important conversations.
That's a great point. And a great note to wrap things up on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into IP-FaceDiff. We'll be back next time with another exploration of cutting-edge machine learning. Until then, keep those brains buzzing and stay curious.